How do you support teachers? Welcome back, everybody, to Be Good Leadership, where we talk about leading, teaching, and learning amazing school communities. Okay, so how do you support teachers? How do you become the administrator or leader that teachers want, right? How do you do that? And there's so much to go into here. We can go into depth about each one of the things, but I'm going to give you 6 things. I'm going to give you 6 things for a school leader to do that will make you the administrator that teachers want, that teachers feel supported in. And what I'm going to convey to you here is that, and what I'm going to argue is that the more you do this, the more your teachers who are already student-centered, let's stop. Not stop. You guys decide what you want to do for yourselves, but let's try to not be that administrator or not be that person who hasn't been in a classroom for about 10, 12 years, or maybe was only ever in a classroom for 3 years and has been an administrator for 17. Let's not be that person who then gets on our high horse to talk about how student-centered we are and how we are student-centered to the core, because what we end up doing is gaslighting, or we get a roll of the eyes, because what the teacher knows, you don't want to try to insinuate that the teacher is not student-centered. The teacher is student-centered. They don't have a choice. Every single day, they're coming in there working with students. They are the most student-centered people in the building. What I'm going to say in this video here that might be controversial is that your proper place as a leader in a school, the first tier of your leadership is the teachers. You got to lead the teachers. So how do you become that person who's focused on supporting your troops, your team, your players, your teachers? How do you become that person? Because when you do that, and the more you do that, and what you'll see from these, your teachers will start to perform better. They will be in a better place to be their best selves for the students who they already care about. Okay? All right. So here, we're going to start here. Number 1, my favorite one that I come back to, clarity. In our webinars on begoodleadership.org, we talk about clarity. It comes up quite a bit. And we talk about how to be a no-drama school. One of the ways to be a no-drama school, no-drama organization, no-drama family is clarity of expectations. As a leader, you need to be very clear on what matters. What is the most important thing? And this takes a healthy dose of figuring out what's essential. Really, really what's essential and what's going to move the needle. It's really about figuring out the 20% that actually gets you about 80% of your results. Because we can't focus on everything. We can't focus on everything. And sometimes we try to give a teacher, well, this is how we evaluate you, is like 32 different things in like 4 or 5 different domains or something like that. And no one can focus on all those things. What you want to try to do is avoid what they call sort of the Otis Redding effect. Okay? If you don't know who Otis Redding is, Otis Redding was an old soul singer, amazing voice. I wish I sounded like that. I don't. But he sang a song called Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide. All right. But one part of that song is he says, I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll just remain the same. Teachers feel this all the time. There seems to be constantly, okay, do this, now do this, now do this, now do this. If you want to be a leader that provides some mental space for your teachers, that it provides your teachers with some safety, the first thing to do is just be very, very clear about expectations and to limit the number of them. Expecting people to get better at 3 things is a lot. From what we know about how people develop and what people work on, even the work of autodidacts who are really good at figuring out how to master a particular skill, 3 things is a lot. But I understand we do a lot of different things in education and schools and everything else. But if you can keep it to 3 or less of the most important things, that when every other thing is going on, administrative issues, we got to work on this assembly, we got to do all these things, bringing it back to what do the teachers need to look back at? What are the one or two things that you're going to consistently this year look for when you go into a teacher's classroom? And those same things should be tied to what you expect from them. So a lot of clarity about what's actually expected of a teacher, because most people want to do a good job. They don't want to get in trouble with their boss. So coming back to this idea of clarity, and the 20% will give you 80% of your results. Okay. Number 2, resources. Part of your job is to figure out what are the resources the teacher needs, and to the best of your ability, provide those resources. Whatever, and this is easier, and these next 2 that I'm going to give you are easier when we have clarity. So when you have some clarity about, well, this is the big deal. Okay, so here are the resources that we're going to invest in this year. So some schools struggle with money, struggle with budget. Narrow down your focus. Narrow down your focus on what this year you're going to actually try to accomplish, and really dial down in and get those resources, right? Try to the best of your ability. And if you can't bring them to the school, there's so many different avenues to go out and research what resources are available, maybe for free or things. But don't make teachers go out and do it. Don't make teachers go out and find it. Make it a part of your job to figure out, based on this short list of clear objectives, avoiding the Otis Redding problem, avoiding that problem, what are the resources that would be needed? And how do I research, spend some time, maybe once a week in my office, calendar it, 45 minutes to an hour, where I'm just researching what are some good resources, free ones and ones that we can actually purchase to bring to the school that focus on these 1 or 2 things. Figure out those resources and get them to your teacher. Don't make your teacher go look around. Make time to look at for them. And when you provide them with some things that you've seen, if I know teachers, they're going to go look on their own anyway. A lot of them are going to look at them like, well, you know what? I think this might be better, and this, that, and the other. But do the initial work. Number 3, professional development. Provide professional development. I think one of the things that misses when you don't have focus, when we don't have clarity about our expectations and what we're really working on, professional development can seem all over the place or non-existent. Oftentimes with the Otis Redding problem, I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I just remain the same. This happens to us all the time when it comes to professional development. We have so many different things. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do a little bit of that, a little bit of that. What makes sense to invest in terms of professional development, and how do we bring that in, and how do we make it seem important? If teachers are being put in 10 different directions, someone who is providing professional development on one of those things is not going to get the attention that they need, and you're not going to get the repetition of that professional development that you need for someone to actually build the skills that they need. This happens a lot, and probably one of the highest leverage points you have. I talked about this in a webinar on begoodleadership.org. Oftentimes, one of the places we miss this idea of is when we first hire people. We oftentimes hire someone because their resume said that they've done this before, and so, yeah, they should just know. Right? Let's say you do the science of reading, or you do workshop model, whatever, or you do some kind of big concept-based math versus Singapore math, or what have you. Just because the person, I did science of reading, they implemented it the last year that I was at my last school. And we know how implementations oftentimes go. We know that there's plenty of people who, we implemented this, means it was part of the first week of staff meetings. There was no additional training on it, and we didn't check on it. We didn't actually hold anybody accountable for it. There wasn't feedback taken on how it's going. So this person on their resume, when you ask them, do you have exposure? Do you know the science of reading? Yeah, we did that in my last school. But you don't know what quality they did it to. You don't know what their expectations of what it should look like, and they don't know the expectations of what it should look like at your school. So therefore, we miss so many occasions like that where we just figure, oh, they should just know. They should just know. Don't assume that. Schools are very different. Their expectations are very different. Even when we all might have the value of respect on our building, we might all have the value of service. But what does service look like at your school compared to the other one? What is respect? What is that actually, when operationalized, what does it look like? When we have, that all comes down part of clarity. And when we have that clarity, we also know and can commit to the professional development that's significant to our teachers, and to know that one-off professional developments do not work, that professional development, so much of it is sadly the research doesn't seem to be that it's actually effective. Teachers want it, but oftentimes professional development, the amount of money invested in it, you don't get much bang for your buck. However, professional developments that are consistently done over time and people are actually held accountable for, given feedback on, and focused. So professional development on one thing for a year and that keeps coming back, you're more likely to get people invested. But of course, the other part is followership. I've talked about that before, how much it's always with the student. How much is the student actually going to invest in it? But as a leader, what you can do is professional development, provide number 2 and number 3, resources and professional development to help your teachers. They will love you for that if you do it in a reasonable way with clarity. Number 4, you got to understand time. I was working with a person who was a tech coach. They worked as a tech coach for a while. And then because of circumstances, they cut that position and their school forced them to go back into the classroom. And when he told me when he was leaving, he said, one thing that I underestimated because I've been out of the classroom for so long. He said, I've been out of the classroom for so long. He goes, and then going back into the classroom, the thing that I understand is that when you're out of the classroom and you're not teaching kids all day, you forget about time. You forget about how important it is and that you never feel like you have enough of it when you're teaching. And throughout my leadership experience, and every year I would do multiple times a year, I would do blind spots documents, surveys from teachers. And I would always ask teachers how we were doing, what are things that we can do for them, take 360 feedback. It's the one thing I was never able to necessarily change because I think that the only way to get it is to really change the whole makeup of a school day, of how we do school days, and what that actually looks like. But every single year, it didn't matter what year, it looked the same. Time. We don't have enough time. Anything I tried to do, staying within the parameters of the traditional school day, teachers just never felt like they had enough time for all the things that needed to be done. As a leader, you need to understand this. You need to understand that. You need to take it seriously by not adding things onto a plate without taking something off. If you're going to add a thing to a teacher's plate, you need to figure out, what's the thing that needs to come off? If you want to be someone that the teachers benefit from, that doesn't burn them out, it's part of that Otis Redding effect that I talked about. But if you're going to add something to the teacher's plate, you need to figure out, what can I take off? And if you can't take anything off of the plate, don't put anything else on. Giving teachers their time, treating them as professionals. So many schools, school districts still treat teachers as if they are hourly employees when they're salaried. They're still trying to look and count the hours of when a teacher needs to be on KISS campus and this and that and the other, instead of treating them as professionals and knowing, we all know, that teachers have to work outside of school. They all do. They come in early. Some of them will stay late just on their own. Weekends. Many of them grade papers at home. So the idea that when we do this thing where we try to treat our teachers as if they're hourly employees and don't allow them as professionals to have more autonomy over their time, as much as we can give them in a school day where they are tied to a bell schedule or this, that, and the other, we actually lose trust. They don't feel respected, and we become more likely to burn them out. Because as coaches, as administrators, we leave the classroom and then we have all the time in the world. We have time to think about things. We have time to just sit around and talk in an office about big ideas of what we want to do. We have all this thinking time. We have all this developing time. And then we're shocked when the teachers are like, dude, I can't do that. Because, they haven't had that time. They don't have the time to think about all those things. They don't have time to just sit around and chat about our big ideas or do thinking maps and put a board. I've seen departments of 4 people in an office, and their board is covered with ideas and initiatives and everything else, they're not talking to anybody else except the people in that room, and then come up with a big idea that all these other teachers are going to implement and all these other administrators are going to implement. And they don't understand why it doesn't work. They created the document. They did all the thinking. They've talked about this. They know their stuff. They have a beautiful presentation ready. Well, time. Thinking, buy-in, and good decisions take time. Take time seriously. Number 5, attempt to be an obstacle remover. A good administrator, a good leader, tries to see what they can take off people's plate. They try to figure out what's challenging you right now, or what's keeping you from accomplishing the most important thing, that clarity from number 1. That becomes the thing that you consistently ask about as a leader, that you're checking with teachers on. Are you able to get this done? Or how's that going? Give me a status update on that. What's getting in your way right now? What's keeping you from being able to do what you need to do there? And as much as you can, you're not going to always be able to, figure out what their obstacles are, ask them what the obstacles are, and see if you can remove them. Become interested in trying to take something off their plate. Become interested in trying to, and believing that your teachers want to do a good job, and trying to figure out what challenges or what little things have you not noticed that maybe you can do something about. And number 6, last one, differentiation of support. So here's an interesting one, and maybe a controversial one for many people, but we believe in differentiated instruction. We know that different students need different things, different amounts of work, or they might need me to go over this again, what have you. But then we ignore it with leadership. We think that we make one document, we send one email, we have one staff meeting. That's the way to go about this. And we think about it in terms of fairness. I treat everybody exactly the same. You can try something different. And what I had done in the past, and I'm trying to some administrators to do to good effect, is you can, at the beginning of the year, create a form of scenarios that happen in a school. If a parent contacts me about a complaint they had about something that goes on in your class, how would you like the administrator to handle it, right? How often, if I want to try to come into your classroom this many times, in a month, is that overwhelming to you? Or if I'm going to do that, how would you like me to go about visiting your class? Or if I visit your class, is it important to you that I leave a note, give you feedback in real time? Are you okay with a voice note afterwards? Would you like a face-to-face meeting immediately? This, that, and the other. Because different people respond to different things. Different people have different needs from you. And if you can document that, if you can ask them about that, it allows for that autonomy, but it also teaches you as a leader how to lead a group of people. It doesn't mean you're changing the expectations. What you're looking at is, how do I adjust the process of getting them there, right? We're all going one direction. We've got clarity of our goals, but what matters is, but where are they and how do they feel like they like to be supported? And let me see if maybe I can't do everything that they're asking, but I can at least get to there. And some of that, just that consideration and just a little bit of that tactic helps, because when it doesn't work, also, it gives you the safety valve of saying, I'm trying to do what you're asking. I'm trying to support you in the way that you said you would like me to support you. And if I can't do that, if I made that real effort there, then of course, next steps and everything else. But that differentiation of support, figuring out how they would like to be supported, what are some things that are particular to these teachers or that teachers, because you don't know what their experiences have been, right? Each teacher comes from a different background, what have you, but it's a way of trying to get a sense. And what you'll find is that they're actually not that different, but there are some little exceptions, and it's worthwhile asking the question and trying to figure it out. Because remember, let's say we're all going to New York. We all know, hey, everybody here, we all want to go to New York. But the directions and the help you'll give them to get to New York all depend on where they are, right? The directions I give to someone in Houston are different than someone who's in Bali about how to get to New York. So direction can be the same. The clear goal can be the same, but the process and the support for getting to that place oftentimes necessarily depend on where that person is and who they are. So let's differentiate our support if we can. Okay, those are your 6 things there. Those are 6 things that you can sort of try, look at, and you can really work at one thing at a time. You can work at 1 or 2 things at a time, I would suggest. If all of these things are foreign to you and they're not things that you actually do, I think you can, if I had to suggest to start at 1, start with clarity. Start with very much trying to get as clear as possible about expectations, because many people, when the expectations are clear, they'll meet them. They'll do the best they can to meet those expectations without you doing much more than that. So I think you can actually make a robust difference if you streamline the expectations, get very clear about them, and commit to communicating those expectations consistently and over again. And what you'll find is by doing that yourself as a leader, you'll also get better at a whole host of other things that are connected to some of these. So if you have to start one place, start with clarity. But I hope this has been helpful to you. And you guys, as always, be good.